President, please be seated. The court is back in session, and the floor is given to the defense counsel for the accused to put question to the witness, starting first from wait. Please wait. Judge Lavanya may have some question to put to the witness. You have the floor now, Judge Lavanya.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, witness. I indeed have a few questions, follow-up questions to put to you. And in particular, I would like to clarify a certain number of points regarding the meeting that took place in the Central Zone in 1978 in Kampong Thaw, or Tmor, if I understood well. So can you remind us, or can you specify who chaired this meeting?
Answer. The zone chief, Kai Bok, was presiding over that meeting. I was asked to accompany others to the meeting, and at the time I heard that Kai Bok was presiding over that meeting.
Bien.
Fine. Whom did you hear speak? I don't know if this is being translated properly, but I wanted to know, whom did you hear speak at that meeting?
President, please observe the microphone. I heard from the speech that the person who spoke at the time was chief of the zone.
And what did he say exactly regarding the traitors? Because I understood this morning that the issue of traitors was brought up. So what did he say exactly in that regard?
Answer. For traitors, he referred to those who were from East Zone, and those people were accused of betraying the Upper Angka, and it was said that those people from the East Zone had to be purged.
Was he speaking about all of the people in the East Zone, or was he only speaking about the people called the new people, or did he speak about the base people, or did he give any details about who these traitors were? Or was he talking about all of the people in the East Zone? Did he say that all of the people in the East Zone had to be purged?
Answer. In principle, all of the East Zone, including the old and base people, had to be purged since they were accused of having Khmer body and Vietnamese mind.
And at one point in time, during that meeting, did they speak about the Vietnamese? Were Vietnamese people targeted, as far as you remember? If you don't remember, just say you don't remember.
Answer. He, in fact, said that the East Zone cadres were supposedly to have a Khmer body and Vietnamese mind, and some people were accused of being a bandit.
And during the meeting, did they specifically speak about the Cham, and what was said regarding the Cham?
Answer: no. At the time, nothing was discussed about Cham, since Cham people were being transported out. They discussed only people or cadres from the East Zone at the time.
I'm going to read to you. Well, first of all, do you remember having been interviewed by a person by the name of Isa Osman?
Answer: yes, I recall that.
Voilà, je vais vous...
Well, I'm going to read out to you right now an excerpt from his book, The Cham Rebellion, which in fact was read out to you when you were interviewed by the OCIJ. And this is a document that is indexed to E3/9323, and the French ERN is 00286658, Khmer 00275387, and in English 00218542. And at one point in time, Isa Osman wrote the following regarding this meeting you are talking about. And at one point in time during the meeting, K-Pok, who was the Central Zone Secretary, and his representatives had just captured the East Zone during a violent attack, asked the Krochmas district secretary which percentage of the plan defined by the party had been achieved. And speaking about you, he said, Saleh stated that K-Pok then specified, you first must destroy the Cham in the mobile units. They are all traitors. Free translation. So, does what I read out to you correspond to your memories? Or do you have any thing you would like to add to this?
Answer: I indicated about this issue in the morning. The plan was to purge entirely members of mobile brigades. That's all from my answer.
Mais le...
But was the plan to eliminate all of the members of the mobile units or all of the Cham who were part of the mobile units?
Answer: all. Each and every one from mobile brigades had to be purged.
And at one point in time during the meeting, were there questions put regarding the Cham specifically?
Answer: the questions were asked about Cham, Khmer, and the plan was to purge East Zone cadres.
Donc,
So there, no mention was made of a plan that apparently was directed specifically at the Cham. Directed at the Cham more than at other people who were considered traitors. Is that what I must understand?
Answer: yes, that is correct. All traitors needed to be smashed.
Fine. Thank you very much, witness. I have no further questions to put to you.
បាទតទៅនេះផ្ដល់វិការជូនទៅក្រុម
President, now the floor is given to the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chia to put questions to this witness. You have the floor now.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. Let me start by asking you a question to tell me who is Kun Kim.
Answer: Excellency, Kun Kim was one of the commanders in the Liberation Front, which Pol Pot wanted to kill the entire people, and he was one among the group who led the resistance against Pol Pot.
And what was Kun Kim's position before he joined the National Salvation Front?
Answer: I do not know his actual position during that time, but I know that he was a commander. Before that time, I have no idea. During the time, as I said, he was one of the commanders who was resisting against Pol Pot.
And what was his position within that army? What was his rank within the Liberation Army? Was he the same position as Heng Samrin, for instance, or did he have a higher position?
He did not hold high rank within a district. He was not senior, and his rank could not be compared to that of Heng Samrin and Jia Sim. He commanded a small number of soldiers to help protect the base in Tabong Khmum and Krochma.
Let me read to you what you told the investigators. That is, Mr. President, document E3/5209, English ERN 00242069, Khmer 00218538, and French 00293938 up until 39. In 1978, we, that is you as well, fought against the Khmer Rouge in two battlefields, one in Krachma district and another in front of Roka Knorr Pagoda. Later, we joined with the big army of Kun Kim and continued to fight until the liberation. Now, when you said, when you told the investigators, the big army of Kun Kim, what did you mean when you said that?
Answer: it meant that we work closely with the large number of soldiers from Kun Kim's side, and I had only a small number of soldiers and could not resist the troop of Pol Pot. That's why we had to work closely together with Kun Kim's troop.
I understand, but what do you mean when you said the big army of Kun Kim? How big was Kun Kim's army?
He commanded around 400 or 500 up to 1,000 soldiers. He had the combined forces under his command to resist and fight against Pol Pot. That's why I refer to his troop as the big one.
And do you know who was Kun Kim's superior commanding officer? To whom did Kun Kim have to report to?
Answer: I do not have the full knowledge of that, since I commanded a small number of soldiers, and as I said, he commanded large number of soldiers, so his army was considered a big one. So I do not know which commanding officer he reported to. And as I said, we were confined to be in our own village during Pol Pot's time. Only when we fought to liberate the country, that was the only one time that we were able to move freely. We were confined to our base at that time, not to move around freely.
What's Kun Kim's present position today?
Answer: he is the Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the combined forces. Within the Royal Armed Force, he is once again the Deputy Commander-in-Chief.
Is he presently the highest ranking military person in Cambodia?
Answer: no. He is not the biggest one, and there are people above him. So when we refer someone a deputy, usually he or she is not the biggest one. How can we use the word a deputy if he is the biggest one?
Let me rephrase the question. Is he a four-star general who is now presently the chief of staff?
Answer: he is the Deputy Commander-in-Chief.
We were talking about the same person, just to be sure. Is he someone who recently received a PhD in Vietnam?
Answer: I do not have any idea whether he obtained a doctorate degree from Vietnam.
In Sector 21, to which Crouch Mark district belonged, there was a chief of staff, a military person called Kun Det. Do you know whether Kun Det and Kun Kim are the same person?
ដឹងដែរ
Answer: I do not know that individual. I do not know his actual background or his actual surname.
There was also a deputy chief of the 4th Division in the East Zone, a person called Heng Kim, who became the chief of the 5th Division in the East Zone at one point in time. Do you know whether he might have been the same person as Kim Kun, or Kun Kim, excuse me?
Mr. President, I just ask for a reference for the documents that these questions are based on.
My last question, Mr. President, was based on Heng Samrin's interview to Ben Kiernan, E3/1568, English ERN 00651892, Khmer 00713967, and French 00743365. But apparently you do not know who he was between 75 and 79, but was he a high-ranking cadre in the East Zone? And was he originally from Kampong Cham?
Answer: at that time, I did not know about that, so I cannot give my response to that question. I did not know at the time where he was located.
Can you tell us, when you joined the big army of Kun Kim, what position you had, especially in relation to the battles that you were involved in, the two battlefields, one in Krauch Mar district and another in front of Roka Knorr Pagoda. What was your role as a Liberation Army soldier or National Salvation Front soldier? Can you explain that?
Answer: allow me to tell the court I held no actual position. As I was armed, I was assigned to protect and guard the people. So when there was an issue arising, we worked together to deal with that issue, and we were working closely as well to resist and to recuse our people from that regime. So there was no one to be in charge of me at that time.
Well, let me move up a little bit in your in the statement. The exact same year ends as I just cited, Mr. President. You said later 300 of us in the mobile brigade fled into the jungle, and we decided to fight against the Khmer Rouge to stop the killing of Cham people. We had only a few weapons, 15 rifles, and we named the movement as National Salvation Front in Pre Ngor Ngui behind Chumnik village. Is that something that you said to the investigators?
Answer: yes, I did provide that statement. I at the time made mention that the National Salvation Front arrived at Trobai, and at the time we had no food remaining to eat, so we went to pick up the unhatched rice. So as I said, we arrived in fact at Trobai at the time.
Where did your group get those 15 rifles?
Answer: the 5 rifles, said the witness, were the results that we was the result from the fighting between the Pol Pot soldier and the East Zone soldier, and at that time they threw away the 5 rifles, so we went to collect that 5 rifles.
In your statement it says 15 rifles, but you just found them, is that what you're saying? You didn't get them from someone?
Answer. We in fact picked up those rifles from wells where the weapons or rifles had been thrown into those wells. Villagers told us that the rifles had been thrown into the wells during the time that Pol Pot troops was trying to purge the East Zone cadre. So we heard from villagers, and we went around to those wells to pick up that thrown away weapon or rifles.
Let me just move up in time a bit and then I will go back. This morning, answering a question from the President, you said that you are now presently the bodyguard, or maybe one of the bodyguards of Prime Minister Hun Sen. Is that correct?
Answer: yes, that is correct.
When did you get that position? Was that before 79 or after 79?
Answer: it was after 1979.
Did you know Prime Minister Hun Sen before 1979?
I knew him, but I did not see him. He was in the west, and I was in my base.
What do you mean he was in the west?
In fact, he was at the east, and he was accused of betraying Angkar by Pol Pot.
Do you know when he left the East Zone and when he fled to Vietnam? When was that? Did he tell you?
Answer: I did not know at the time. We were not allowed by Pol Pot to move anywhere freely, and as I said, I could not trespass into other villages. Samdach was in Memut on the other side of the river, and I was on another side of the river.
Did he flee for Vietnam in June 1977?
Answer: I do not know when he fled, in which year he fled. At the time there was no cell phones and radio to communicate with one another. The forest was everywhere, so I could not go anywhere. Like I said, I could not move freely.
Was he together with you in those two battlefields that you described, that you were involved in, Krauchmar district and Roka Knorr Pagoda?
Answer: no, we did not combine forces. I was in Krochma, and perhaps he may have fought the battle in Phnom Penh, so we never combined forces together.
Do you know what position he held in Sector 21 in 1975?
No, I did not know that because at that time I had not known him.
I understand, but did he ever tell you later, maybe when you became his bodyguard, that he was a deputy regiment commander in 1975 in Sector 21?
No, he did not tell me that.
Did he ever tell you whether his regiment had any role in crushing the Cham Rebellion in late 1975?
No, he did not.
Let me read to you an excerpt from Regiment or Battalion 55 cadre, E3, Mr. President, E3/5261, Khmer 00250947, sorry, 43, French 00285329, English 00274336. By that time, Sok Sarun had gone to become the chairman of the zone division, and Sok Sat was the commander of D55. Sok Sat organized the troops to suppress the Cham rebellion. Do you know whom Sok Sat received orders from? Answer: as far as I know, Sok Sat received orders from Yun Sopi. Yun Sopi was in the Sector 21 military staff. Did Prime Minister Hun Sen ever talk to you about this?
No, he never talked to me about that, and I have never heard the names that you mentioned in your question.
But you do have heard of the name of Heng Samrin, is that correct?
Of course, everybody heard of his name since after the liberation, as he was a leader who led the troop to liberate the country, and that was the time that I heard of his name.
Was he in 1975 and afterwards the deputy chief of the zone military staff?
Mr. President, the witness just indicated that the first time he heard of Heng Samrin was after 1979, so I'm not sure what his foundation would be to discuss Heng Samrin's positions in 1975.
I'm sure the witness must have met Heng Samrin afterwards, but
well, that should be asked first, then we would submit.
Fine. Mr. Witness, have you ever met Heng Samrin after 1979?
No, until today I have never met him in person. I only heard of his name.
Have you ever heard from someone else whether Heng Samrin was in 1975 and afterwards the deputy chief of the East Zone military staff.
No, I haven't heard that. I do not know anything in relation to the periods that you refer to. At that time, I only knew what happened on the ground where I stayed.
Let me ask it more generally then. Have you ever heard whether Heng Samrin was in fact the highest military commander in the East Zone after Sao Pim between 75 and 79?
No, I never heard that. I didn't know his role or function at the time. As I said, I only heard of him after the 1979 liberation. And I did not know anything about him before that.
Have you heard of Sao Pim?
No, I haven't heard of Sao Pim. I do not know who that person was.
So you were in the big army of Kun Kim, became Hun Sen's bodyguard, and you're telling me that you do not know who Sao Pim is?
Yes, that is correct, because I do not know him. As for Kun Kim, I became known to him only about a month before the country was liberated. And prior to that, I did not know him or what he did.
Mr. Witness, there is evidence before the trial chamber which might seem to suggest that almost every villager in the East Zone, the former East Zone, knew who Sao Pim was, or at least heard of what they called a Sao Pim event. Are you sure that you never heard of Sao Pim?
I never heard about him or what he did.
Have you ever heard of a person named Chan, who was the Sector 21 chief?
No, that name does not ring a bell. In summary, even the district chief of Krochma, I did not know him or her. I only knew the people on the ground of where I live and the commune chief. I did not know even the district chief. How could you ask me about the name of the chief of the sector?
Let me see if I can refresh your memory. Have you ever heard of Uk Bun Chun?
No, I do not know Ok Bun Chun.
Maybe I mispronounced the name, but did I pronounce it correctly? Uk Bun Chun, the present high-ranking CPP minister.
No, I don't. I don't know who he is or what he's doing.
Let me return to Chan. Seng Hon alias Chan, the Sector 21 secretary, to whom Uk Bun Chun was deputy up until 78. I have in front of me a WRI of his son, the son of Sector Chief Chan. Mr. President, that is document E3/5531. Question and answer 66. He talks about a meeting that he had with his father in 79 or 78 probably. And the father of this person, in other words Chan, said the following: "Don't speak about the previous things in Sector 21. He also told me to tell his former subordinates not to say anything and to show ignorance of Sector 21. And all should say that there used to be farmers at Kampong Tro Bek." Mr. Witness, have you ever heard of any orders to anyone in the former East Zone basically to play dumb on events in Sector 21?
No, I haven't heard about that. And I don't even know this Chan person.
Have you ever heard of a person, Hem, H-E-M Samin, Hem Samin?
No, I do not know this name.
Just to help you, he had a high-ranking government position right after 79 in the PRK government. Hem Samin, does that mean anything?
I do not know this Ham Saman at all. The name does not ring a bell.
Let me read to you an excerpt from a scholar's book, Mr. President, that is Ben Keenan's book, E3/1593. ERN English 00678-637, Khmer 006377770 and 71, and French 00639-034. And I'm quoting now, Mr. Witness. Hem Samin, a Hanoi-trained communist, then a political prisoner in the zone, blames the zone CPK secretary So Pim for the first repression of local Chams. It was he who signed the orders for Pong to kill the Chams in Tree in 1974. He was nasty. So, although you don't know Hem Samin, or at least that's what you say, you don't know So Pim, at least that's what you say. Have you ever heard anybody say that the former East Zone secretary, So Pim, was in fact responsible, possibly through Heng Samrin and Prime Minister Hun Sen, for the repression of the Cham Rebellion in 75 and 74?
No, I have not heard about that since 1970.
Have you ever heard of a person named Paul Sarun?
At present time, yes, I heard of his name, but in the past I did not know what he did.
What's he doing now?
He is the Commander-in-Chief of the Iraqi Armed Forces.
So he's the superior officer to Kun Kim, is that correct?
At the present time, yes, but in the past, I did not know.
Well, let me assist you. Do you know whether he, Paul Sarun, was after Heng Samrin the second deputy chief of the zone military staff?
No, I did not know about that. I did not know about their previous positions.
Have you ever heard, or do you know rather, whether Paul Sarun played a role, a military role, in the National Salvation Front?
I did not have any idea about that. I did not know whether he was in the front.
Have you ever heard of a person named Mat Lee?
Yes, I heard of the name Madley.
And who was he?
I only heard of his name. I do not know who he was. President, he did not know him, and how you asked him who he was, and your line of question is not really related to the scope of the facts being put before the chamber. So please try to return to the main topics. Although I try not to interrupt your line of questioning, you have wasted quite a number of quite a large chunk of your time. Please be reminded that you need to focus on the questions related to the knowledge of this witness so that we all together can ascertain the truth in this matter.
Indeed, Mr. President, let's ascertain the truth. But I believe I heard the witness say that
when the witness says he does not know, then please try to move on and not to keep repeating that point.
I believe the witness does know Mat Lee. You just said that.
At least we should clarify it, because I heard in the English translation, at least I think I heard he said yes. So either it's a translation issue, perhaps we can clarify that by repeating the question.
Mr. Witness, did you just say that you knew Mat Lee?
Allow me to say it again. I heard of the name, but I do not know who he is. I only heard of his name, that he's a charming person. But I do not know what he does or what position he holds.
អ្នករំដោះជាតិ
I only heard that he was one of those who liberated the country with some Dutch, and I never knew him in person.
Fine. I'll move on, Mr. Witness. Answering a question from the prosecution, you said that the quote-unquote Khmer Rouge arrived in Krauchmar district in 1975. Isn't it true that Krauchmar was already in the hands of the quote-unquote Khmer Rouge in 1970?
I did not know anything about the Khmer Rouge, or Khmer Krahom, or the Blue Khmer, or Khmer Kill. I only heard about this group of people, and they killed the people.
Surely, Mr. Witness, you are able to say whether the Khmer Rouge arrived in Krauchmar in 1970 or in the year that Phnom Penh was liberated.
I did not know whether they were the Khmer Rouge or the Khmer Front that happened in 1970. I only knew that the killing started after 1975.
Well, the people in Tree Village probably wouldn't agree with you. But is it correct that the people who were in charge in September, October of 75 were the same people who were in charge of Krauchmar district in 1970 and subsequent years?
I didn't know the person who was in charge.
But this morning, you gave testimony that in relation to the events in 75, that, and I quote, Upper Ankar arrested the traitors, unquote. What did you mean when you said that?
I saw them coming to arrest the people, to arrest the Tuon, the Hakim, etc. And I heard that they came from the upper level, although I did not know who they were. They came to arrest the educated people. They were taken away and never returned, including Tang Hakim and Tuons. And I heard that they were from the upper level Angkar.
But you do not know who the upper level of Angkar was.
I only knew that at the top level there was Pol Pot, who issued orders. That's all I knew. Because if you refer to the regime, it was known as the Pol Pot's regime.
Well, let's talk about Pol Pot a little bit. What made you say during your WRI that Pol Pot with a K was in fact a brother of K Pok? What is the source of your information? Source of your knowledge, rather?
Mr. President, my understanding after reading the transcript was that he was saying that Pol Pot was the brother of Pol Pot rather than the brother of Kai Pok. So perhaps that could be clarified with the witness before we continue.
No problem. Were you saying that Pol Pot was a brother of Pol Pot.
Yes, that's what I heard from other people, that Pol Pot was the younger brother of Pol Pot, and some other people refer to him as Kai Pok. And I heard this through people who knew from one another that Pol Pot was related to Pol Pot, and he was chief of the Central Zone. That's why he was so vicious.
Do you know now that Pol Pot and K Pok were not brothers at all?
No, I do not know it for certain. I only heard people at the time saying that. You need to do your own research.
Let me return again to the rebellion in '75. I asked a question on this by the prosecution. You were talking about military boats that you saw on the river. Can you describe those military boats for me?
The Pol Pot soldiers came to repress people in Kapal who rebelled against them, and then they transported the wives and children of those people involved in the rebellion by boats, and I didn't know where they were taken to. And I heard that the fishermen told other people about this, that villagers from Kapal were taken by boats, and they were accused of opposing Pol Pot. And in 1979, there was no one remained in Kapal. There were only trees.
I don't think any villager in 1975 had heard of the name Pol Pot, Mr. Witness. Are you sure you heard the name Pol Pot in 1975?
Yes, I heard of his name even prior to 1975.
Have you ever heard of the names Fulro or Khmer Sar, White Khmer?
No.
Have you ever heard let me backtrack, Mr. President. I'm referring to document E3/1568, ERN English 00651889, Khmer 00713962, and French 00743361. It's the interview of Heng Samrin, who says that in 1976-77 we had a struggle, but a secret one. End of quote. Have you ever heard Heng Samrin speak of a secret struggle in 76 or 77?
No, I did not know that. I was pretty young at the time.
but nevertheless, you were able to overhear a meeting presided by K. Pauk. Now let's talk about that for a while. How was it possible, do you know, that a commune chief was able to attend a meeting presided by K. Pauk?
At that time, the district chiefs and the commune chiefs were called to that meeting because there was a plan to evacuate the Cham people from the Jumnik village and commune. That's why the chiefs of the commune and district were called to that meeting. Because in the village and commune there were several remaining Cham families. And the new commune chief was called, and that person was rather new in that position. At that time, not only the Cham people were purged, but Khmer people were also purged.
The reason I'm asking, Mr. Witness, there is a lot of evidence that seems to suggest that zone leaders would only, most of the time, speak to sector leaders, and sometimes to district chiefs, but hardly ever to commune chiefs. So when you were accompanying this commune chief, did he tell you that it was a special occasion?
Answer. I was not told that it was a special case. They were told to go with the district chiefs to receive plan from chief of the zone. The target was to purge Jinik commune, since it was said that there were bandits within the Jumnik commune. They said the bandits were from somewhere to cause the trouble to the plan of Angkar. So the meeting was meant to lay out plans to get rid of those bandits.
What did the commune chief understand that the word purge meant when it was pronounced? What did that mean?
Mr. President, he's asking this witness what another person understood a particular word to mean. Unless that's based on a conversation that this witness had with the commune chief, he has no way of knowing how the commune chief understood that.
Fine, no problem. I will rephrase. Mr. Witness, did you talk with the commune chief? What he understood the words purge to mean, or the word purge to mean?
Answer. I was not entitled to question him about the meaning of that word. I was so terrified of him. He had rights to kill people. All of commune chief, he had the authority to kill all of them. So I was a small person, and I had no rights to question him. Whenever I was assigned to go anywhere, I would do the task and perform it. No matter I was asked to go and die, I would do it.
Mr. Witness, you talked about also having heard the speaker, whoever he was, talk about percentages. 50% of the Cham people, I believe. Can you specifically recall hearing a percentage?
Answer. Regarding the percentage, in fact, the there was a question asking about how many percents of purchase are done by each commune, and some communes said they could accomplish 50% of purge, and I do not know what was going on after that.
Mr. Witness, clearly you do not know, but we have reviewed all documents that talk about meetings that you described, and whenever there's discussion about percentages, it's always about percentages of plans for crops and rice. So always things would be said like 50% of the plans have been completed. Are you maybe mixing two things up, something that you heard about percentages in terms of rice production or other productions of crops?
Answer. When they refer specifically to rice, they would refer it very clearly, and purchase. So how could they refer to crops or rice to be purged? Purge was meant to be done on people.
How would you even know that, Mr. Witness, as a simple villager, that whenever cadres spoke during those meetings and used percentages, that they were referring to crops and rice production? How would you know that? Did you attend other meetings?
Answer. I was part of the mobile brigade. The head of the party of Pol Pot said the winners convened a meeting, and it was widely known a slogan of keeping is no gain, taking away is no loss. This is a usually a commonly well-known phrase at the time.
Mr. Witness, I put it to you that you never overheard any meeting during which purges or executions were discussed. Isn't that true?
Answer. They were referring to the purges of the East zoners, and at the time purges did happen as the cadres of the zones pledged to listen there, and they were accused of having Khmer body and Vietnamese mind. I do not really understand at all. At the time, people were assigned to dig the canal and build the dam. So how could they be accused of having Khmer bodies and Vietnamese mind?
Last question, Mr. Witness. What are your qualifications that you became Prime Minister Hun Sen's bodyguard?
Answer. It is my willingness to give protection to him. It's come out of my mind. I have done good deeds, and I am willingly to defend, to give protection and security to him.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Thank you, Mr. President.
President, thank you. It is now a convenient time for a short break. The chamber will take a short break from now until 3 o'clock. Court officer, please assist the witness in the waiting room during the break time, and please invite him back into the courtroom at 3 o'clock. The court is now in recess.